Alrighty, Steve. This is for Steve Tech, the video I promised you. Man, I appreciate your time and making a video for me and explaining some stuff, and it goes a long way. First off, you probably realized, the channel name and the channel content. It's kind of a fun BS channel, entertainment, complaint department, if you will. But all BS aside, this is, no bullshit matter here when you drop 10 grand on the lawnmower and it doesn't cut for crap. But nonetheless, I appreciate you responding. And I made some notes here, and I'm just standing in the garage. I don't have the mower here, so I can't point at the deck, but I've got some blades and some parts in here. And here's the original chute, of course, unused. Let me set that down, tune-up kit, all the stuff, the manual. Here's some of the blades. Gator blades, of course. We're going to set these over here. And then I've got the OEM blades, what I call the high lift. In here, we'll set these over here, and we'll just talk about them for a little bit. You mentioned the gap. Let's see if I can just use two blades here. Let me put these other ones out of here so I don't drop them and make a shit ton of noise. But simulate the deck here. We'll say this is the front, middle, and this is the rear. And we're just gonna stick them off to the side here. Something like that, right? Let's put it right here to center so we can see. So what we were indicating before is that the gap between these two is not critical, and you're absolutely correct. Let me see if I can get some more light in here. Turn on the shop lights, see if that helps. All right, so the gap between these two is not very critical. I mean, if it's way off, if the blades are the improper length and you come up with something like that, yeah, you might have a couple strips. But what's going on here, no problem there. What I was talking about is the vertical separation. Like you're saying, if one is slightly higher like so, and then you spin the blade around, and the other one is like that, well, it's probably a bent blade. One part of the blade is bent. And if you spin the blade, and one's like, I'm exaggerating, but one's like this, and then you spin it around and it comes around and it's also like this, then more than likely this part of the spindle is probably bent, or where the spindle is mounted to is bent and the deck is chooched, but whatever, So yeah, we're on the same page about that. I may not have depicted that in my last video that well, but that's the whole point of when you've got three blades like this. The front one is a little more forward and the outer two are squeezed in. That sort of offset is normal. That's how they overlap. That's how you get a good cut. So, let's see, reading my notes here. You mentioned when I was leveling the deck that I went flat, and yes, and I normally don't. I always have a pitch to the rear about eighth of an inch higher in the back. That's always been my normal. But just for shits and grins, I wanted to go level just to see if it'll affect things with the mulch kit on. Because when you install those baffles on a mulch kit, all bets are off. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get. Almost every deck design is different. The depth of the deck, the way the front lip reinforcement can act as a front baffle. They call it like a Hoover baffle. Sometimes it will increase airflow coming in. But I just wanted to play around with it and go level just to see what happens. Now, something of interest here, when you read the service manual on the Hustler, the FasTrak, the 2022 SDX, let's talk about deck leveling. When you go into that service manual, they actually recommend using 2x4s, like you said, but stacking two of them. So when you measure them, the overall height is 3 inches. Now, here's what they tell you to do, and you're going to get a kick out of this. You may or may not know this. But you lay two 2x4s down, you drop the deck right on that sumbitch, you loosen all of the hangers, and you loosen the deck assist spring. You actually pull the bolt right out of the loop there, so there's no tension involved. And then you put the pin on 3 inches, and then you drop the deck down to that. and then you snug everything just so it's like just starting to relieve tension off that, and then you put the deck assist spring, you know, for the foot pedal to raise and lower the deck, because it weighs 150 pounds. So that deck assist spring goes in there, and there's even a very particular adjustment for that depending on the size of the deck. It's within like a ½ inch or a quarter of an inch. So like 9 1/4 inches is the length from the loop to loop on the edge of the spring, and that's your deck lift. Because if you put too much tension on that spring, I'm getting off topic, but stay with me. If you put too much tension on that deck lift spring as you're going over bumps, it's going to move the deck up and down when you don't want it to, and that could cause maybe some striping issues, what I've got going on, but that's not the case here. I promise you that. But going back to the deck level and how Hustler does it, once you put the two 2x4s down, you drop the deck, you loosen it, it's on 3, the pin's on 3, and you set everything. You put the deck assist spring back. Get this, the front of the deck is 3 inches, the back of the deck is 3 1/4. The pitch is built into the deck. So it's the pitch of the top deck lid where the spindles are mounted is forward a little bit. That may indicate why when I scored that blade on the inside of the deck, that line, you remember I got thinner on one side, but it wasn't a very accurate reading, but nonetheless, just something to think about. Now, to take it a step further, here's what I use instead, 3-inch deep sockets. So we'll say this is the front of the deck, and this is the rear, and this is the outermost blade, right? I would take these, lower it down, so that this tip of this blade is just touching, right? And I'll lower the deck, I'll climb underneath the deck, I have a nice bright light underneath, and I can see all of the sockets, and I've lined up the outer blades with the tip so that this sucker is just sitting level. And then on the back end, spin this around, we'll just do that. On the back end, it'll be a 1/4 inch higher. So there'll be, you know, about that much room. So now, when the pin on the unit says 3, that's my cut height, not my deck height. Because I want to know, when I want 3-inch cut, I put that sucker on 3, and that is 3 inches from the ground to the tip of the blade, not to the deck. So that's just something that I've used all the time, and I don't have a nice flat lift here that I can put it on, but just being under the ground on this surface down here, it's not too bad. But I happen to use these, and it seems to work out quite nicely. All right, so back to the Mulch kit blades, the blades that came with the OEM Mulch kit. I don't have those with me. They're on the machine. The machine's at the dealer right now. But yes, these are, you know, higher lift. This is what you said, basically. The amount of lift here increases your airflow or decreases your airflow. This will be a little bit less. This has surprising amount of airflow still in it. The mulch blades that are on the machine are the ones that are wavy. So if you're looking at it from a side profile, like so, this one's flat. But the Hustler mulch blades kind of go up and go down just a little bit and then flip up with a little bit of lift. And with the baffles in place, you know what that does. Basically, it's causing a twisting or a rolling action as it spins around inside of each baffle, inside of each chamber with a mulch kit on. Those blades are creating a circular turbulence, if you will, inside there, and that's what recycles all the clippings. Every time it goes around, it's just chomp, 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 chomp. And these are simulating that. This is Gator's version or Copperhead's version, same thing. And these are pretty sharp, and they're very effective, and this is a very sturdy blade. I like this. I'm actually impressed with how this works. I know you didn't recommend it. Some other guys say, it's okay, but actually this is a good medium blade, average blade. It does well. And with that, I always mulch at 3 inches all the time. With the Skag and Hurricane mulch kit, I would run Skag's Hurricane blades, which were very similar to these and had a slight wave to them. They're going for max lift. They've even got some other baffle pieces that go around each spindle inside of there to enhance the rotation, if you will, the circular motion to mulch. And I cut grass with that just fine with the Liberty Z 52 inch, and I've went almost full stick in the past, full speed, and it would cut grass and do a darn good job. With the Hustler here, that's not the case, because in order to use the mulch kit to mulch leaves and sticks, you have to go like less than 2 inches, and you have to go super slow. So if I want to mulch sticks and leaves, that's one thing, but these sticks and leaves are sitting on top of the grass. So if I'm going down below 2 inches, then I'm cutting some grass as well. So now I've got uneven and blotchy grass, and I'm cutting grass at less than 2 inches when it needs to be at 3. So it's kind of like you almost need a dedicated vacuum at that point instead of a mulch kit. Another thing that you mentioned, this sucker is huge. And you mentioned just using maybe one of the baffles, and again, I don't have them here, but no, you cannot use just the end piece near the discharge chute because it relies on the other pieces of the baffle to bolt to for structural rigidity. So you can't do that. The only thing I could think about that this mower is good for at this point is, without using a mulch kit, you're going to have to get a grass flap or some sort of discharge chute block off plate. Either fab one up, homebrew, or buy one, like an advanced chute grass flap, or there's a couple of them out there aftermarket. The grass flap seems to be pretty cool. It's foot operated with a cable, and gets some good reviews. At that point, I'd probably use these OEM high lift, or get some higher lift blades out there, use the grap flap, and then call it a day. That'd probably be the best case scenario. With these blades, OEM blades on, and no mulch kit installed, it does an okay job, but it's still not, it's like there's obviously something wrong. And you see my previous video where I've used all 3 blades, the Hustler mulch blade, Gator blade, Copperhead blade, and the OEM blade, with the baffle kit, with the mulch kit on. They all suck. They're all the same. Matter of fact, my previous couple videos back where I'm testing all the types of grass, these blades were brand new. They still look brand new. But literally, they were unused. I bolted them on with the baffles, and I did a test run at 3 inches, and it was like the worst cut out of them all. So there's just something to be said about that mulch kit and the airflow under there. Something's just not right. Well, Steve, if you made it this long, man, I appreciate it. I can yap a lot, but it really sucks. It hurts my gut to spend this sort of money on something that I thought was going to be the cat's ass, only to find out it doesn't mow. And if you read the comments on some of my videos, there's guys that are pending sales on fleets of Hustlers, depending on the outcome of what happens here. And then there's guys that have older FasTraks that are cutting just fine, and I don't think there's been much changes in the deck, but some guys are reporting that they have issues as well, even without the mulch kit. So something's going on here. Hopefully Hustler will step up to the plate, because at this point I need a mulch kit, and I need a block off or something. Maybe Hustler will compensate me for that $300 mulch kit with a $300 grass flap, and I can go on down the road. But at this point, man, everything's it's not sitting well, if you know what I mean. And if the dealer or Hustler wants to help the dealer or tell the dealer to buy this thing back, by all means. I mean, I made this thing straight. You see in my previous videos, I praised it. I've sold a lot. I've actually sold at least 5 of these Hustlers just from my video, and I hadn't even mowed with the damn thing yet. So Google search and YouTube works. So we'll see what happens. Well, I'll definitely keep you guys posted, so stay tuned, and appreciate your time, Steve, and we'll catch you later.